Hey there movie lovers, welcome back to Rocky Watches Movies. Today we're taking a deep dive into one of the most iconic films of all time, E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial. This 1982 classic captured the hearts of millions, but even the biggest fans might not know all the behind-the-scenes secrets and surprising facts about the making of the Spielberg masterpiece. In today's video we've got everything from hidden Easter eggs to fascinating production stories. So grab your speak and spell, hit that like button, and let's get ready to phone home with 20 things you never knew about E.T. Following the success of Jaws and Close Encounters, Spielberg sought a more personal project. Inspired by his childhood divorce experience and isolation as a Jewish boy in Arizona, he conceived Growing Up, a story told from the perspective of 3 children. Then, to maintain creative control of Close Encounters, Spielberg commissioned John Sayles to write a pseudo-sequel titled Night Skies. This involved a suburban family terrorized by hostile aliens, with one extraterrestrial forming an unlikely bond with the family's son. Spielberg found Night Skies too dark for his tastes and opted to have Columbia release a special edition of Close Encounters instead. However, he recognized the film's potential. Collaborating with Melissa Mathison, he merged his semi-autobiographical Growing Up with the benevolent alien concept from Night Skies to create E.T. During 6-year-old Drew Barrymore's audition, she claimed to be the drummer for a punk band called the Purple People Eaters, who performed to thousands the night before. Spielberg was captivated by her vivid imagination and cast her immediately. Spielberg then met with Henry Thomas for the role of Elliot. He opted for an improvised audition, asking Thomas to prevent a government agent from taking his alien friend. Thomas's raw emotional performance, culminating in heartbreaking tears, instantly secured him the role. Peter Coyote had auditioned for Indiana Jones, but he tripped over the wiring on his entrance, far from the desired heroic image Spielberg wanted. But Spielberg recognized Coyote's endearing awkwardness and later cast him as the government agent Keyes in E.T. Drew Barrymore has held on to a piece of her childhood stardom. The red cowboy hat she wore as Gertie in E.T. found a special place in her heart. She now keeps it in her daughter's room as a sweet reminder. Spielberg gave a nod to his good friend and collaborator George Lucas by adding the scene where E.T. spots a child dressed as Yoda on Halloween and says, "Home, home." Spielberg didn't tell Lucas about it until a private screening at Skywalker Ranch, where Lucas found it hilarious. Later, when making The Phantom Menace, Lucas returned the favour by including E.T.'s species as part of the Galactic Senate, where they can be seen acting unusually hostile. Shortly after the film's release, Steven Spielberg and writer Melissa Mathison drafted a 9-page treatment for a sequel titled E.T. 2: Nocturnal Fears. The plot involved Elliot and his friends being kidnapped by evil aliens, with E.T. returning to rescue them. The most surprising detail in the script, E.T.'s real name is Zrek. If you're enjoying the video, a subscribe to the channel would be out of this world. While Spielberg abandoned plans for the cinematic E.T. sequel, author William Kotzwinkle expanded the story in print. His novelization led to E.T. the Book of the Green Planet, which follows the alien's return to his home world and subsequent monitoring of Elliot's life from afar. As Elliot grows older and drifts from the lessons of peace learned from E.T., the alien grapples with the desire to return to Earth. Though lacking the film's emotional impact, Kotzwinkle's novel offers a unique perspective by narrating the story from E.T.'s viewpoint. The film was a box office juggernaut. Its initial release defied industry norms by increasing its box office take for several consecutive weeks. The film's incredible word of mouth and audience appeal led to a full year-long theatrical run, a feat almost unheard of. It would go on to overtake Star Wars as the highest-grossing film of all time, with a total North American box office take of over $350 million, more than $1 billion in today's terms. It held the record until 1993, when it was beaten by another Spielberg film, Jurassic Park. Its enduring popularity also resulted in 2 successful re-releases, one in 1985 and another in 2002, solidifying its status as one of the most beloved and profitable films of all time. The home video market was just getting started in the early 1980s, with high prices and uncertain profitability. Spielberg resisted releasing E.T. on VHS for 6 years, despite intense public and studio pressure. Ultimately, concerns over piracy and the desire to provide fans with a high-quality viewing experience led to the film's 1988 home video release. The tape became an instant bestseller. While E.T. is primarily a heartwarming tale of friendship, the presence of government agents armed with guns creates a sense of tension and danger. These weapons were intended to heighten the stakes and emphasize the family's fear. However, in the wake of increased gun violence, Spielberg opted to digitally remove the firearms from the 2002 re-release, replacing them with walkie-talkies. This decision sparked significant backlash, with critics and fans arguing that the alteration tampered with a cinematic classic. Many felt that films should be preserved as time capsules, reflecting the era in which they were created. In response to the negative feedback, Spielberg acknowledged his mistake and promised to maintain the original version in future releases. It's a shame George Lucas didn't get the same memo. Spielberg enlisted Ed Verreau to design E.T. first, but he ultimately chose Carlo Rambaldi, known for his work on Alien and Close Encounters. Inspired by his own painting, Women of Delta, and photos of elderly people during the Great Depression, Rambaldi created a sympathetic alien design. Ralph McQuire, famous for his Star Wars concept art, designed E.T.'s spaceship with a Dr. Seuss-inspired look. Originally, the script called for Elliot and E.T. to be taken to a hospital after their capture, but production challenges led to a change of plans. One day, Spielberg's flight was severely delayed by LAX's extensive construction that included huge scaffolding, oversized plastic sheets, and cylindrical tubing everywhere. Inspired by the chaos, Spielberg decided to transform the family's home into a government quarantine zone. So the exterior of the house was covered in plastic sheeting and scaffolding, creating a surreal and imposing atmosphere. The interior scenes were filmed on sound stages. Harrison Ford had a cameo as Elliot's school principal, reprimanding Elliot for his unusual behaviour. The scene has Ford in shadow as he swivels around on a chair in his dark office. During the sequence, Elliot briefly levitates while the principal has his back turned. Spielberg ultimately decided to cut the scene though, believing it detracted from the film's focus. The iconic scene of Elliot and E.T. flying across the moon was real. Except Elliot and E.T. being on the bike, of course. Industrial Light and Magic spent weeks scouting the perfect location to capture a low-hanging moon amidst trees. Once the ideal spot was found, the live-action footage was captured. The characters of Elliot and E.T. were then added using visual effects. The filmmakers approached Mars first to feature M&Ms in the movie, but the company declined. Reasons for the refusal vary. Some claim Mars executives found E.T. too ugly and scary for children. They then reached out to Hershey, who agreed to feature their similar candy, Reese's Pieces. This decision paid off, as sales of Reese's Pieces soared following the film's success. A tie-in TV commercial even aired during the 2002 re-release. E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial transcended its status as a mere film, becoming a cultural touchstone that sparked diverse interpretations. One of those prevalent interpretations likened E.T. to a Christ-like figure. His healing abilities, gathering of followers, apparent death and eventual ascension resonated with Christian symbolism. Universal fanned the flames of this idea, with ads showing E.T.'s finger touching Elliot's, not unlike the famous Michelangelo painting in the Sistine Chapel. While Spielberg denied intentional religious undertones, he acknowledged the film's potential to invoke such interpretations. On the opposite end of the spectrum, religious figures like Jimmy Swaggart, a once popular TV evangelist who got caught up in a sex scandal involving prostitutes, condemned the film, labelling E.T. a beast from hell, and accused Spielberg of being an agent of Satan. This extreme reaction likely stemmed from a fundamentalist Christian perspective that conflicts with the idea of extraterrestrial life. Spielberg provided E.T.'s voice during filming, then Deborah Winger provided a transitional voice for the character. But the final E.T. voice was crafted by sound designer Ben Burt. He discovered Pat Welsh, a non-actor with a distinctive raspy voice, and manipulated her vocals to create the unique sound of E.T. Burt also incorporated animal breathing sounds and other vocal elements to complete the character's vocal identity. To bring E.T. to life with a sense of fluidity and realism, Spielberg enlisted the talents of professional mime Caprice Roth. Working in an uncomfortable prone position beneath the puppet, Roth meticulously controlled E.T.'s hand movements. She wore sleeve-length gloves that were made up to look like E.T.'s skin and mimicked his long, slender four-fingered hands. In the final cut, she was credited as the E.T. movement coordinator. The E.T. video game is infamous for being one of the worst ever created. Rushed into production to capitalize on the film's success, the game was a critical and commercial failure. Players controlled E.T. in a repetitive, frustrating quest to find phone parts buried in pits. The game's abysmal controls and lack of depth made gameplay an agonizing experience. So bad was the game, it's often blamed as the main culprit contributing to the video game crash of 1983. Legend has it that countless unsold cartridges were buried in a New Mexico landfill, a fitting final resting place for the gaming disaster. Indian director Satyajit Ray accused Spielberg of plagiarizing his 1967 script, The Alien, for making E.T. Ray claimed the script circulated widely in Hollywood, but Spielberg denied the allegations, stating he was a high school student at the time his script was doing the rounds and no legal action was taken. Neil Diamond's 1982 hit, Heartlight, owes its existence to the emotional impact of E.T. Inspired by the film, Diamond collaborated with songwriting powerhouses Carol Bayer Sager and Burt Bacharach to create the song. The title itself is a direct reference to E.T.'s glowing heart. And there you have it, folks. You now know a little bit more about E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial. If you enjoyed the video, which I presume you did, as you got this far, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos coming to Rocky Watches Movies. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.